Hey there, listener. Welcome to the Deep Share Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Rouse, and for the last couple of decades, I've slowly been opening my eyes to a very different world than the one I grew up hearing about. And the more conversations I have with interesting people, the more mystifying this world becomes. So without further ado, let's get deep.
We've got science to celebrate! Demons bliss out! After what, baby? Come on!
There is rebellion in the wind. It will crush.
Everything I've said is true. It's real.
Dinosaur fossils? God put those here to test our faith.
A damn lie. I saw them with my own eye.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
We did illusions, man! None of it is true!
I'm not insane.
This is mass madness, you maniacs! In God's name, you people are the real thing! We are the illusion!
Welcome back to the Deep Share / the Deep End. I guess it's both right now. And I'm here joined by my wonderful friend Shane Newsome. What's up, Shane?
What's going on? Dude, so great to fucking talk to you, bro. It's been like a month.
Yeah, it's been too long, man. I know, and you've had an exciting month as well.
Hell yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I've had some fun, but unfortunately, as you can all see, or actually, as you can all probably hear as well, I am not in the studio because it was underwater again. And I just decided to move like at least some of my gear up into my living room, or my dining room, so I can keep recording instead of dealing with just like taking a massive break. You know, it was enough. So we're back. And actually we've got a really cool episode tonight. It's going to be a good time, I think.
Dude, so tell me more about this flood though, dude. Like what?
Yeah, man, the flood sucked. So it was before the hurricane. You know, the hurricane came up the East Coast and decided not to do anything anyway. So it wasn't really that big of a deal. But it was a storm, just like a what's it called? A flash flood. And it just nailed my town and like 2 other towns. And we got like, what was it, babe? Like 9 inches, 11 inches in 3 hours or 2 hours.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, 2 hours. It was insane. Yeah, dams broke. Like people were getting evacuated out of the other side of town. My sister had to get evacuated. It was nuts.
Wow.
But you know, some of you may remember that I had
you already have like flooding issues.
And I'll call it out right now that the town I live in the town of Leominster. That's as much as I'll say. Leominster, Massachusetts, decided to build this beautiful bike trail behind our house and about 50 other people's houses that's going to connect to a lot of other towns' bike trails. It's a political thing. It looks good, right? So they built that, but it's behind all of our properties and it's up above our property a little bit. So it creates this natural dam. So all of our yards were basically a massive
fucking
ocean.
Lake.
Yeah, a lake. And any of us with old ass foundations, yeah. So that really sucked.
Damn, dude.
Really sucked. But we're trying to get the hell out of here as soon as possible anyway. So hoping for the best. But yeah, I've taken too much of a break and I wanted to come back.
Yeah, dude, I'm so glad you're fucking back at it, dude. You said fuck that, dude. I'm doing it.
Hell yeah, dude. And I figured it'd be good to have you with me on the first day back, you know?
Yeah, bro. I appreciate it, man.
So what's been up with you, brother? I know that you've had an exciting month as well.
Dude, so while you were sending me pictures of your town underwater, I was in the desert. I just put out an episode on my show with my buddy who went with me. We talked a little bit about it, but I went to the Reno air races in Reno, Nevada.
That's awesome.
Dude, it was fucking sick. So we went from Wednesday to I think we only went for like 2 days. It was like Wednesday and Thursday, I think. We missed like all the cool big events, but we got to see we got to see an F-18 demonstration, the A-10s, which they fly over my house all the time, but it was cool to
That's
see
so
them
cool.
a little bit lower to the ground. They had some just like the cargo versions of the AC-130s. I don't know what they're called.
Nice.
They did like a water drop, just dropped a fucking parachute, like a crate with a parachute out the
That's
back.
wild.
It was kind of cool. It was cool to see. Um, yeah, dude, there's nothing horrible happened while I was there, thank God. I heard on Saturday there was a fatal collision between two pilots, which
Damn.
yeah, there was one last year with just one pilot where to me, I think he just like he was like possibly gonna collide. This was a jet race. The one that happened this year was the old Texans World War II trainer planes.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they collided, but it was something to do. They were done the race, they were landing, and they collided in the air.
That's
But the one last year, I guess the one pilot was trying to pass, but then I guess he thought it was probably unsafe, so he tried to like pull out of the turn a little bit, but then like he got back into it, and I think he was going so fucking. He's in a jet. I think he
yeah.
just like blacked out, and when he blacked out, I guess he just kept in the turn, so he just stayed blacked the fuck out, and then just and fireball on
That's
the
so
ground. Yeah,
awful.
yeah, it
That's
was horrible.
brutal.
Yeah, there's like good footage of that one. It's horrible. I don't think there's any footage of the crash this year, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But
Damn. That's
yeah,
at least you got
other than
other
that,
than that.
I didn't see it, so I had a great fucking time. Reno
Right,
Air
right.
Races, highly recommend. You'll never get to see it in Reno ever again. Reno Air Races are done. But they do have 8 other venues willing to take them. At least they told us that on Thursday. Um, but Reno's done. There's like expansion that they did, and like those people were bitching. They didn't think it was safe. The planes were flying over the backyards racing. And so Reno's kicking them out. There's 8 other locations. They didn't announce which one, but they're coming back in 2025. So I'm gonna get that press pass, bro. I gotta get you to come. Your
All right,
show's
I'm down.
deep share is bigger, bro. We'll get the fucking press pass for sure.
I actually, when I was a kid, I used to go to, can't remember where it was, but it was somewhere in Virginia Beach, some Air Force base down there. Watch all the crazy jets fly over and everything. It wasn't like a show, but it was pretty
Yeah,
crazy
dude.
watching them doing drills and everything. It's pretty
Yeah,
wild.
dude.
So I used to head down there all the
That's
time. So
basically a fucking air show, dude.
yeah, yeah, right. We get an air show around here because I'm right down the street from our local airport. It's not very exciting, but this dude with like a Cessna goes over every friggin' weekend. So my son and I are always waving to him and shit.
Hell yeah, dude.
So
We got the crop duster here.
right. Yeah, exactly. So I'm really excited that we got this guy to come on our show.
Yeah, dude. I was
And it
checking
was
out
going
his
to be a
page.
Patreon show, but I was like, fuck it, let's do this on the deep share and just put it out and for everybody. This guy, Tyler Engel, you showed me a couple videos of him talking about like frequency and resonance and cymatics. And I was like, you know what? These big name TikTokers seem to have like really good channels. Like a lot of this is put together really well. So I'm just going to see if he responds. And sure enough, he got back to me and he was totally down to do this and hang out with us. He's
Hell yeah,
also a
bro.
music producer. So this will
Yeah.
be really cool, man. So I'm going to bring him in now.
Hell
We'll
yeah.
say hi to Tyler Engel. But yeah, we can talk a lot about cymatics and all kinds of crazy awesome stuff.
Tyler.
What's up, Tyler?
What's up, y'all?
I'm Andy. This is Shane. Welcome to the deep end
What's
here.
up, dudes?
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too. My computer just died. I'm trying to switch that real quick, so I apologize for the technical difficulties.
No
Yeah, it's
problem
all
at
good.
all.
You're here.
You're good.
We're
You're good to go.
experiencing that on Andy's end.
Yeah, I'm not even in my studio. I was just telling the audience and Shane here, I just had a flood at my house a few weeks back. And so I've just been off the clock for a while, not doing the show at all. So
Where you live at?
I'm up in Massachusetts. We got a random crazy
Wow.
thing having, yeah. But no, we're back in it, and we're glad to have you here, man. We follow you on the TikTok, and you're sharing a lot of really awesome information, and I love the connection between music and cymatics and sound and spirituality and all this different stuff. I think it all fits together very nicely.
Cool.
So we're definitely glad to have you here, man.
Glad to be here.
So
I'm excited to do more long form stuff. Honestly, TikTok compressing all the stuff I want to talk about into a minute or two is very difficult.
Dude, I couldn't do it, man.
The
No way.
material is very dense.
yeah,
You do an excellent job. Your videos are great.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you kind of have to like speed up your words and make sure you're getting all the pertinent information in, as fast as you can. Yeah. So, first, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into all this, man.
So I originally was I went to college for engineering for computer. I started out as a mechanical engineer and didn't really like that, and then got into physics, mathematics, and then I had just enough credits to get a major in electrical, what's considered electrical engineering, and then I have a minor in all three of those as well. So I had a basis in like academics, but I was like always forcing myself to go through that. I hated it. I really didn't like the college environment and all that. And then so I stopped doing that. I got an engineering job for like 6 months, and I really, really did not like it. And stopped doing that. Started up a business, did like building maintenance stuff, like high-rise window cleaning, whatnot.
Okay.
Just to kind of get out of that world. And then
That's
that got
terrifying.
old really fast. And so moved to Austin, and everybody here was a little more accepting of like artistic pursuits. Let's just call it that. And kind of opened the door to more expressive ways of going about life. And so I had a very technical background, and then that side kind of fused together, and I started making music, and that was like really kind of a leaping off point for me for connecting everything, because the concepts, I'd never really studied music in college, but they were relating to everything that I had studied in college, and I was like, there's something here. And so got into that, then dove deep into the rabbit hole of like ancient history and that whole path.
Yeah.
And that's where like I was like, okay, I have to make this make sense somehow. And so I just literally everything on my TikTok is from a note I have on my iPhone of just like little mini epiphanies I've had while making music or watching stuff. And
Yes.
that's it.
Man. I think I've shared with Shane before that I used to like carry a notepad around with me like a psychopath after I got back from like my initial psychedelic trips, because everything was linking and synchronized.
You have to integrate it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So yeah.
Can you don't want to interrupt, but can you switch that to my computer?
Oh, sure.
Is that
Yeah.
saying that it's trying to
Let's do that. Let's bring that.
get you a little better audio, possibly. Let's do that.
So
Computer.
Recording in progress.
I'm getting off this.
okay, I'll get out.
Boom.
There we
perfect.
go. You hear me?
Yeah, that's way better.
Yeah, perfect. God, I was making music last night. I had to charge my headphones, so I unplugged my computer to charge my headphones, and then my headphones are good, but my computer died.
That's cool, man. So you're rocking the home studio. That's excellent. So how long have you been making music? Was it like while you were in college as like a hobby, or was it a new thing afterwards?
I've been actually producing music for 4 years now in the electronic scene. But I played guitar before. I had a little background in piano, and my dad was a drummer.
Okay.
So I had a lot of influences going on there. But as soon as I got in the Austin scene here with the music, the EDM crowd was immediately my go-to because of the there's a heavy psychedelic influence there, and they got it, like they understood the connection. So that was a lot of really good vibes coming from there. I was like, that's where we're going.
Nice.
Man.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah. Psychedelics are definitely I'd say me and Shane alike, our biggest catalyst into alternative thinking. It happened at different times. But yeah, that's definitely been a huge influence on what we talk about. And of course, the core of it being consciousness. And there's a lot of craziness out there. There's a lot of wild theories. And of course, our community likes to go in a million different directions. But I do appreciate your perspective and how you're grounding it in reality. You're grounding it in mathematics and science. And I think that's really important. And in this counterculture we're in right now that kind of likes to throw all of science out the window just because we may be questioning certain aspects of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of fear going on. So there's a lot of new revival in old faith that isn't too good in the alternative community as well. I'm putting a lot of different pieces here, but long way to say, like, if you're not tuned the right way, you'll miss out on a lot of the right information. So I'm glad that you present this stuff the way you do, man.
I wonder how
you say sorry, go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna make a bad joke.
There will be more time for it. I was gonna say I think that was the catalyst for all of this, the exploration, more diving deeper into consciousness, because people don't trust mainstream now, and they are having a really, really hard time trusting actual science now because it's been used for an agenda. Scientific studies have been used to, say that all of these psychedelics were bad when now we're understanding that they are some of the most useful drugs on the planet. And they've been used to prop up companies that have sold really bad nutritional products, fast food, all of this stuff. They've used these things manipulatively to kind of confuse people. And I think that has caused them to be like, okay, well, what were people before the internet and before all this came out? What were they doing? What were they saying? Because clearly they were way more resilient than our current society and how we're doing things. They were able to handle very catastrophic stress with, I'm not saying with ease, but like if something like what they went through happened today, there would be a lot of people in a lot of really bad positions. So I think they're turning more to these more spiritual aspects because they are very useful for dealing with your internal state. And understanding that, like, kind of forces you to look inward towards, like, who am I? Like, why am I here? Like, you start to get these questions, and then what was kind of I hate saying this, but I get a lot of comments that say it's woo-woo. Like, that's what my grandma used to call, like any thinking outside of like Orthodox Christianity was woo.
Yep.
And now I'm like, okay, well, this is like what we're talking about now. This is what everyone's interested in. And I think looking at the past now is I actually just made a video. I just posted a video 10 minutes ago about how they are now like almost seeing eye to eye. And I think that's where the real breakthrough is going to happen, is when we take the concepts of the ancient traditions and then fuse them with the technology we have now into something that can really benefit humanity.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how many parallels we can draw from the past with all the metaphors and allegories that we find. And yeah, like, it's funny that the old argument was always like literal versus allegorical, but it's kind of both in a way, I find that often, and that kind of tracks with the as above, so below mentality of it all,
Well, if you think in a communication perspective as well, you kind of have to tell allegories, because if I tell you directly that consciousness is not created locally, if I tell you that directly, then you look at me and you are like, okay, who is this guy? What are his qualifications? What are his credentials? Where does he come from? What are his beliefs? You immediately take that idea and attach it to me and then analyze me for truth. But if I relate that to reality, if I relate that to an aspect that you see around you every day, then you figure it out for yourself instead of me being the one that lectures you on the topic. That's why I hated school, is because I was getting lectured by some dude about a concept which it worked. Like electrical engineering is a very hard thing to understand in itself, but it works. Like clearly we're communicating over a lot of technologies working together at once.
Right.
But if I can explain that to you without sitting you in front of a whiteboard for an hour and a half, forcing you to chug 3 energy drinks just to stay focused, that is a far better way of communicating than the way that university even is doing it. And I'm not trashing all university. I had some great classes and great teachers. I'm just saying 80%, I would say, completely, I learned it online. Like I would just Google it. It was way easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that's a reality. That's a reality that like the culture has to face at some point. That university is a fucking scam at this point, and a lot of teachers have to figure, like the good ones that you're talking about, have to figure that out too, and probably start their own schools and start their own. I know many that have. You know, it's a great time for educators of all kinds, and you're an educator as well. You know, it's awesome. Tell us a little bit about that.
I honestly kind of just fell into it, dude. I was when I started the baseboards thing, I was going through a kind of a transition of I didn't want to do what I was currently doing anymore, but I was forced to through COVID. Like all of my employees quit. I had a pretty big business across 3 states.
Wow.
And all of my employees were like, I don't really want to do this anymore. Like it's not paying enough, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's all I can pay you. This is the work. That's what we're getting paid for. So that being said, I had to kind of shift my perspective on how to make money and what I was doing, because I was also losing jobs. We cleaned big office buildings and they were vacant. So no one wanted to do that. And I was like, you know what? I have a whole bunch of, learning experience, and I have a whole bunch of songs that I've produced. And I was like, I'm just going to sell music templates. Like I'm going to try and teach music in a better way than I learned, because again, I went through that whole process and I was like, I wish someone would just tell me just the concept, because then I can figure everything out from there. You get lost in how to learn how to program a synthesizer, and I'm like, but what does it do? What does the synthesizer do? And once you understand that, the synthesizer is very easy to play. It's like a guitar. You know the frets on the guitar, you can make a song out of those notes. But so I started selling those, and that's what I made the TikTok for. Like essentially was to just kind of explain those concepts. And so I was helping my friends out, and I made one day that was explaining how if you have a speaker and you pass a signal through it, it creates sound, right? But if you reverse that and you apply pressure to the speaker and put an LED on the speaker, it'll light the LED up, because it's moving magnetic field. It lights the LED up.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that people didn't know that was a thing, and it got like 400,000 views. I was like, okay, maybe I just need to explain general concepts.
Yeah, dude, I feel like a lot of engineers should catch on to this, like of all kinds, like need to be like, oh, people aren't taught real information. Oh,
yeah,
we're fucking stupid.
Disclaimer on that as well too, because I get a lot of very stuck in their ways science or people who are in academia. They come at me for not explaining the concept to the T, exactly, fully detailed to the T, where it is, that it's what you would hear in that hour-long lecture in university.
Right.
And okay, they're right. Sometimes my explanations are not perfect, but if it gets people engaged enough to look into it, then that is far more effective than getting 1 or 2 people to understand it in a classroom. Doing it this way gets a vast amount of people interested in physics or electromagnetics, something that appears to be very hard. If you explain it right, it's not hard. So sometimes you kind of have to go a little bit out. Like I'm more like, okay, this concept is sort of like this, it's sort of like when you see this happens. That's all it
the
is.
relation, like you were talking earlier about when you give someone an example that they can relate to on their own. And it's even like that broader idea of just how everything relates to everything else. When you teach people that, it's almost like when you give people that fractal skill or that fractal sight, almost, it's like if they see it, you can really run with it, and it can almost give you this kind of superpower to kind of understand systems, if you will,
that is the concept of what we refer to as like a Renaissance man, because the Renaissance era artists knew this fundamental concept. The Renaissance era, those artists were a group of people within the, Freemason, Rosicrucian traditions,
Yeah.
understood this occulted knowledge, which allowed them to become engineers, painters, artists, musicians, all at the same time, because all of these things are connected. If you know one thing, you know pretty much all things. And the one thing is very, very simple.
Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like even in like and in during the Renaissance, like all the paintings were proportionate, like like they're basically fucking photographs. It's crazy.
You can't do perspective painting without the Fibonacci sequence. That is how our eyes take in light. And once they understood that that's how light appears to you, then you can just translate that back into the painting. But it's also how sound moves. So if you understand how light moves, then now you can make beautiful music because you understand the harmonies between the music. So it's all related. And if you know one, you can kind of choose your own adventure at that point. That gives you the tools to do whatever you want in life.
And so this kind of hops into what I wanted to ask you about. So like this could even, correlate to like the chakra system. There's like the 8 chakra system, which is, the mainstream one, but then it even goes into like the 13 chakra system, and that's the musical scale. C to C is 13. But so what I wanted to ask you is, in your music, do you take any of these frequencies into account for any kind of like sound healing, or like trying to put somebody into some sort of state? Or
so that's an interesting rabbit hole to go down. there's a lot of moving parts, especially within the genres. So I make primarily bass music, like really deeper bass music, which is generally 1 to 3 notes in one direction. That is your melody essentially. But within that melody, you adjust the distortion and the harmonics of the individual sounds to create more movement. So that is the general way of creating engaging bass music that constantly changes for your ears. Now, if you're writing chords, then you need to, obviously have harmonious sounding chords. But even the chords themselves in electronic music, if you're not tuned right, if you look at like the patterns that the cymatics make, if your music's tuned to 440, they will be a little bit more distorted. They'll be like 720p. If it's 432, it looks like 4K. You can see the individual shapes within that sound.
I've made music in 432 before, and like, I can't ever tell if it was just like placebo, where it's like, but it's like it almost sounds better. I don't know.
Have you
think about placebo anyway? I mean, it's almost like we kind of know that there's something going on with the placebo effect and consciousness anyway.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know.
Have you tried it with tried looking at the difference on psychedelics?
No, I haven't taken psychedelics in a long time. So
it's been a while.
It's where it's gonna really open the door for you.
Yeah, go
on your next journey into space. Go listen to a regular like 432 regular song, any song, or 440 song.
Yeah.
And then go to 432. And what it's going to do there is, in your normal everyday experience, you're not going to be listening for a 8 semitone difference or 8 hertz difference in frequencies. Your ear is going to be like, sounds maybe a little better. But on psychedelics, certain things resonate differently. Your vision resonates differently with the world around you, right? Things are crossing. Your ears and your sight and your sound and your taste are all kind of like intermingling, right? But it's also a harmonious interaction. The more harmony you can introduce on psychedelics, the more resolution you're going to get in your brain. So if you see like a really, really clear mandala or like a geometric pattern on psychedelics, it's gonna kind of, I would say, like replicate itself almost, or it kind of merges with your field of perception, right?
Oh, yeah.
that sound is going to do the same thing. It's going to make things a little bit more coherent. And that's the real difference you're going to see, because you have that heightened perception, that the view from far back instead of in here. You know, you have that more unified perspective.
I think the one, like I've made two dubstep songs before, and that's what I was lacking. You said changing the amount of distortion and stuff, because I basically figured out how to make the wubs, and that's as far as I went. I just kept the synth like the same the whole time through, and like it's cool, but like like you said, just adding all those different harmonics and stuff, just from changing the amount of distortion and like flanger and all the different delay effects.
It's creating dimension in your head with one note. That's kind of the dubstep.
Yeah, dude.
Well, as not a music producer, this sounds even more fascinating.
It gets more interesting when you kind of decode the geometry of what's actually happening with the sound and manipulate that. I think is the stages go like, okay, what is this music? What do I need to make this music? How do I make this music? How do I make it good? And then like the intricacies of what is going on in those little details, because the fundamentals are very simple, but those little details separate all of the 90% of producers from the 10% that actually get recognized for the music. And it's because they understand those little subtleties about the sound that set it apart.
This is like meditation and sensing subtle energies and like crystals and shit. And mess with mediumship a little bit, and you really have to be able to sense those subtle energies.
I once heard a Freemason say that, oh man, what the hell was it? It was something. No, now I lost it. I was waiting. I was interrupting you, Shane.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. We'll get back to the Freemasons.
But yeah, so in your music, you produce in 432?
Depends on the song, honestly. If it's
I gotcha.
If it's a party banger, it's
440.
Like, I don't really think about it too much.
Because
you have to, when you're doing it intentionally like that, you have to tune almost
every single thing individually to
There's not a good way or a plugin right now that
I made a preset in my DAW.
There's not one of those yet, which opportunity if someone can do that. But if I'm intentionally making a song, and it has to be more simple than most things. It's got to be some deep wubby stuff, or like a very simple melody that doesn't have a lot of moving parts. The more you add there, you have interference. It's all playing in one sound wave, right? But within that sound wave are all the sounds you use to make that sound wave. So every single one, that's why sound choice is so important, is going to interact with the others in a specific way that either amplifies the signal or it interferes with the signal. And if you have too many interferences, it just sounds like garbage. If you have too much harmony too, though, it can push it outside your limiter and you won't get a lot of that content. So you have to nail that, and that is very difficult with a complex song plus the tuning. That's like a week-long project for a 3-minute song. It's not good for creativity.
No.
People do it. Yeah,
they do.
Jeez.
Sometimes it's worth it.
It is, yeah. I mean, you have one of those bangers and you're like, was that the key to it? Because sometimes I don't know. Like sometimes I'll post TikToks and I'm like, this is like some good shit. This is like, and then it gets like 1,000 views, and I'm like, okay, well, that wasn't a good shit. And then I just put a random thing that I'm like, I just saw this on the internet. I feel like I'll talk about it. It does 1 million. I'm like,
yeah, dude.
You just don't know. So
it's the algorithms.
The algorithm gods.
Yeah, man. Well, I saw one of your recent videos on TikTok talking about I believe it's your new ebook, your Code of Consciousness. I'd love to hear more about that. Don't reveal too much. I want people to go check it out. But it seems like you're putting out this whole series of ebooks that's like this foundational learning series, which is great.
So my plan, I'll tell you the plan, and then I'll tell you where we're at here. My plan is to have a non-traditional education system that complements the current shitty educational system.
Hell yeah.
And So you have to go to school and you learn your stuff, right? But I'll tell you how to make it make sense a lot easier, and then you can just go do that. That's like my goal was, and to make it make sense for not people that are necessarily in high school, but like people that got told this thing, they're like, well, that was wrong. Why did I get told that?
Right.
And so they can kind of go through that. But to do that, you can't just go one path. Like there's people that are interested in history and physics and spirituality. And so my first foundational level was covering all 4 of those bases, and that the code of consciousness one was the last one in that series that kind of completes the foundational part of it. I also have a course on there that includes all of them, and I walk you through a video of it too. So I want the ebooks there as a cheap, affordable way for people to access the information, and then I'm going to have more in-depth courses, and then I'll probably be doing like a webinar system for people that really want an in-depth thing. They can kind of get into that. But this is like kind of level 1 of the stuff I want to release. I have the next stuff would be more of the occulted information, like the stuff you would learn on a traditional initiation path, whether that's like Egyptian mystery schools or Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, all of these you could say like secret societies. They're not really secret. I mean, you can enroll and go and talk to these people.
So many ex-Freemasons have written books. So many ex-Templars have written books. It's all out there. It's not,
it's not hidden. And that's the biggest misconception.
Occulted, yeah, it's different.
There's this group of people that's like hoarding all this information. I've learned everything I've learned from that, nothing that's secret at all. Like it's YouTube videos, old religious texts, all of that stuff, and I just piece it together. It's not rocket science. If you seek, you will find.
Yeah, I actually used the hashtag nothing is censored. Like it really just depends on where you want to go find it. I mean, you can definitely go down rabbit holes and conspiracy theories about, different corrals people are being put into. I would definitely jive with that. Like, oh, these types of accounts, these types of conversations, they don't belong on YouTube. Well, you can find them on this particular website, this particular website. So you're corralling certain groups kind of in that way, but it is all there. And I've been saying the same thing for a long time, not just with the books from ex-Freemasons, but with the essence of what occult really is, which is hidden within. People take that idea of hidden with being the definition of occult and run with it and go, okay, it makes sense. It's hidden. They're keeping it from us. Sure, maybe there's some levels to that, but not where it really counts. That's hiding in plain sight,
But it's also hidden kind of for your protection. Like if people get hold of this information, then we have a really bad situation on the planet that everybody has to deal with. So it makes sense why it is occulted. Because the people that want to find the information will, and then when you find it, then you understand that there's an appropriate way to use the information.
Yes.
There's a good way and there's a bad way. And I even wrote the first page of Code of Consciousness says, if you use this information in the wrong way, you will have the entire weight of the spiritual community come down on you and make you look like a fool. And that's how they kind of do it. Like if you go the wrong path, and they're going to slap you down. They're going to say, you can't, this isn't how that works. So it's a self-correcting system. That's why they had those societies. But those societies were a way to learn that information much faster. They would take you through an initiation process where you could integrate that quickly and become a member and contribute to their overall goal or their mission, what they were trying to achieve. And I'm not necessarily trying to do that, but what I'm trying to do is create a system where all of that seemingly scattered information is in one place, and you can kind of go through it and then figure out, okay, well, I really vibe with the Egyptian stuff. I'm going to look at, the Book of the Dead, or I really vibe with the Rosicrucian stuff. They're like the geometry and all the research into that. That's all of them have something that's really cool to teach and really cool to learn. And I want it to be kind of more of like a gateway into whatever you want to go into. But the foundational knowledge that is literally, like we just said, not hidden, is just so scattered that it's hard to tell people which one to go to, because I don't know who you're going to vibe with. I don't know what is going to click for you. So I know a lot of people like the way that I teach that stuff. So I'm trying to create a system where you can kind of go through and get up to speed on all of the stuff that's been not necessarily promoted, like, you know, in university or school. But
Right.
go into code of consciousness is I wanted to make it's more like a simulation theory, but explaining the way that from my perspective that it works. And I've kind of taken it from a couple different traditions. It's more on the heavily spiritual side, I would say, like Hinduism, and I would say if Hinduism and Christianity had a baby, and then then that baby had a baby with science. That's
Dude,
kind
that
of
sounds right up our alley. We'd love to hear this simulation theory of yours. We've talked about our own kind of simulation sort of theory on the show as well. So please
but
expound.
in a nutshell, I make it like in terms of like a video game where you're playing as a little vibration. Like you're controlling a little vibration, and you start off at the point that is the Big Bang, what science would call the Big Bang. And from there you go and you experience different things in this universe. You experience what this game is as like a rock, or as a tree, or as anything that you can put your vibration into. You can have that experience, right?
Yep.
As you have those experiences, your vibration with the vibration of whatever you have experienced comes together like synthesizers in music. And when you synthesize a wave, that data is stored in the harmonics. A sine wave goes like this, right? But if I throw another wave on top of that sine wave to distort it, the sine wave might look a little more jagged. It's still going to be a sine wave, but it's going to look a little more jagged, right? So every time you go through an experience, you get a little bit more of a distortion within that experience. So that is your personal frequency of consciousness. So all of those experiences create the individual frequency that you're tuning into to your mind, right? And then with this, you can develop and you can grow. And the ultimate goal of the game is to discover everything there is about the game. You want to know everything there could possibly be about the game that you're playing, right? So as you grow, you in terms of like a human, you're also taking in information. You're taking in air, water, food. All of these inputs and outputs build this thing in your body. You know, you add another layer of connection. I call it fiber optic consciousness. Everything that you consume adds another little fiber to your resolution of your experience. And then as you grow, you have more resolution to see what's going on around you. And then you can start to make, you have all these connections that you can kind of bridge. There's so many of them, they're so close together that these fibers start to communicate with each other, creating these ideas and giving you more access to knowledge. So I kind of take that, and then at the end of it, in the end is kind of more of a, what do I do with this? How do I use this in my life? Because that's kind of the story part. And then after that is like, okay, well, how do I get more? How do I increase the resolution of my experience? So that's kind of part 2 of that. But
that's awesome.
All of these things, all of the products that I have right now are essentially I would say like version 1s of all of these things. They're an amalgamation of all of these ideas, and I try and compile them in the best way possible. But I am not an author. I don't have an editor. I'm putting them together as best as I can.
Yeah.
Sometimes I use ChatGPT to edit what I say, but you know, but like, I'm trying to connect all of the things into one thing.
I feel like that's so many of our goals, and I appreciate you contributing to that. Like,
absolutely,
fractal, right? You're
it's
doing
so
it. We're doing it.
overwhelming.
Everybody's doing, like, all together. We're ultimately trying to do this like unification thing.
That was my strategy with the TikTok too. Is I make very little of the actual content that I post, but I try and shout out as many creators as possible and use their art or their research and tie it together, you know? So I hope that I can spread a little bit of awareness to the work these guys are doing, because I'm not researching any of this. I'm just trying to piece the puzzle together. I am in no way I've not done any quantum research.
Well, I would say we are the meta researchers, wouldn't you say? You know, like that, we play the next part. I mean, I would say that even in the podcasting world, a lot of us alternative thinkers, conspiracy theorists, we all started podcasts because we were listening to these types of podcasts as well for a while, the preliminary ones, and so I think this is just our this is just our fractal, this is our ripple, right? This is the
that's your
resonance.
niche on the path.
Yeah, man.
I like this one too because this is the second or third podcast I've been on, and it's like it makes things more human. It makes the experience more human. Like being able to actually have a dialogue about this, because a lot of my friends don't really want to talk about that. I have some here that are they're into psychedelics and shit, but once you start talking about like the nature of reality and consciousness, they're like, you do that.
Yep.
But there is a huge community that's like hungry for this information, and it's been on everybody's mind. I know it has, because it's been plaguing me since I was a teenager, and I can start to like, how does this all fucking work? And
yeah, that was a question I was going to ask you, just about your upbringing, and because sometimes like me, psychedelics was my kind of conduit and gateway to suddenly seeing everything differently. But I'm curious, a lot of people, my wife included, already had that, didn't need psychedelics to feel that the world was different, and a lot of things were confirmed later on, but already had that initial feeling. What about you?
I did, and if you're looking at it in a perspective of spirituality, or maybe let's say like the Hindu system on this, I feel like I probably played the game a couple times before this, and as a child, I kind of looked at most people around me like, that's like, why are you doing that? That's obviously a bad decision. Don't do that. It was, that stuff was really. I felt
Old
like an
soul.
adult. Yeah, I felt like an adult when
man.
I was like 10, and my whole family was Christian. So I grew up in that tradition, which I didn't think it was bad, but also like I hated going to church, and I hated the way they talked to me, and they made it so cringy. Like all of the stuff was just super. It felt like a layer of fake onto the actual knowledge. Because when I read the Bible, I was like, this is legit good stuff. I've read the Bible probably 2 or 3 times at this point.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, if this one's this good, what are the other ones saying? So then I dated a Muslim girl, and she got me into that whole side of things. I read the Quran. I was like, this one's good too. What? So what is going on here? So then that was like, well, if the Western traditions are like this, what's the East saying? So then I looked into the Buddhist, Hindu, Jains, all of those traditions, and I was like, well, they have a whole other piece over here. What are you guys? Why are these separate? Like, you guys could combine forces, and you'd have the ultimate religious product. Like, you could make a whole thing out of this.
That's the Antichrist. That's end times.
Yeah.
and then I get that on TikTok too. I'm like, sometimes I'll post like a video that relates to Christianity. I get a whole bunch of like Christian support. And then I post one that's related to spirituality, and then they're all like, that's the devil worship. Like, it's all, I'm like, you guys are talking about the same
duality
shit.
there, and the contradictions abound. We could talk
The
for
fear.
17
That's
hours.
the worst part about.
Yeah.
I mean, any religion, but mostly.
Well, it's the perceptions
Christianity.
It's our perceptions that have, in a way, been managed. I talk a lot about how we've kind of played a game of telephone throughout history, but in a way, it's also been kind of a manufactured game of telephone on some levels as well, throughout language, the way we interpret things. Go ahead.
I think it was a little intentional. I think that the whole could not be taught as the whole, so it needed to be understood in pieces for the beginning stages of human evolution. I think
this is the whole procession of the equinox, the rise and fall of consciousness.
I think that, I mean, if you imagine trying to I could probably teach an orangutan how to write or draw something pretty primitive, but I can't teach that orangutan to make me an engineering drawing of a computer monitor, that orangutan will not get there. He's not going to do it. He needs a lot more fiber optic connections up there to pull that one off. So I think that in terms of the smaller scale of evolution, I mean, like, let's talk thousands of years. I think that was the developing stages of humanity. And now we're at the point, like we just talked about, where, podcasts and all of these things can relate these ideas. And then we start to make the connections. And then once we make those connections, it can be unified and then we bring science in to prove it.
Mm.
That's my whole idea was doing that. My music project was originally what I was going to communicate that through, but I was fighting upstream with the music because there's so many talented producers and DJs and really hard to do that. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to attempt to go the backdoor route, and I'm going to take a TikTok stance. I'm going to try and pull that off, and then I'm going to loop back in on the music.
Fucking did it, Tyler. You fucking did it, man.
Yeah, it seems like it worked, my friend. Yeah, man. He's sharing
Manifestation at
very
its finest.
awesome stuff. Like the cymatics, man. Like I heard about cymatics from a documentary called Cymatica, or Chymatica. That's what I thought it was called.
Yeah, the German one.
Freaking 10 years ago or something like that. And that blew the gates open. It was like seeing Zeitgeist all over again or something. You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, this is a whole nother thing. Damn it.
10 years ago is when this all started for me.
And yeah, it immediately related to a lot of my deep psychedelic experiences on this is that and that is this and like all the everything. It's just trying to put it all together in my head. I wasn't intelligent enough to do it. I had enough interest in history and symbolism. I couldn't take on this mathematics stuff. I couldn't even do it in high school, but thank God for people like you to explain it in layman's terms like this, It's almost like the age of the secret society is kind of over, and that's got to be intentional as well, as you were kind of saying, this new phase here. And a lot of it is the new world.
I've heard a lot of people
but at the same time, we have our own damn new future that we want to embrace as well. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what you and we are all the next stage of that. So the last stage is coming to an end. We are, if you're spiritual too, we are coming to the end of an age. We actually have passed the point. We're in a transitionary period where there's new ideas that are going to come. The old ideas were there for a reason. The new ideas are going to come. And I think that I wouldn't say the dissolution of secret societies. I think there'll always be organizations just for traditional purposes. But I think that the release of more of this information as societies became a little bit less clamped down on what you could say, then that was like, I would say early 1900s is when this stuff started to be released and actually starting to get out there. And I think it was marketed. I think it was marketed as self-help. Honestly, it was they kind of took a different stance, so it's not like a religion. It's not part of an occult thing, and they're like, this is just how you improve your life, and then they kind of started there, and now it's getting to the point where, okay, this stuff isn't really scary information. It's that they're not worshiping demons, they're not doing any of that. They're actually trying to, I'm sure there's bad people, but they're actually trying to help humanity out. If you've ever been to any lodge or anything like that, no one there is like trying to get you into a cult. They're literally like, they're feeding people on the streets and stuff. They're doing the same thing churches are doing, but they're just doing it in silence, like churches should do. You shouldn't broadcast your philanthropy. You should do it just to fucking do it.
Right. But that's the whole point.
Yeah, I think that information. I think that information now is. You what?
Joel Osteen.
Yeah. Oh
yeah. We don't need Super Bowl churches, man. We don't need that. We don't.
Absolutely not.
Back to the cymatics, though. I think cymatics is actually a gateway into this, because cymatics is something cool. It's something that kids are into. It's something that interests everybody, because it's like, okay, this is not just a computer simulation. This is affecting matter in real life. What is that,
man?
And that when you pair that, the more sensory things you can pair to an experience, the more impact that experience is going to have. So if you show somebody the cymatics of their favorite song, you just linked another one, that experience is now twice as effective from the artist to you. And especially if what they're doing cymatically too. And that's another thing. If you do another psychedelic adventure, just take a look at some of the high definition pictures. Because when you look at them, the way that the light bends and the way you can perceive it, the sound actually looks like a 3D ball. You can see what the sound looks like almost as it's going through the air. It's a weird perception shift, and it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It does stuff, especially if they're.
It's really incredible how a song can change the entire mood. Like it'll change like the lighting for you, and like just how big or small the room feels, how comfortable it is, how inviting or dark or gloomy it can make a room feel.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
one time I was hyped up, I was vibing out, I was playing some metal music. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. And my buddy was just like sitting in the corner, like, so I put on some Led Zeppelin, dude, and it was just like the whole room kind of
Boom.
turned like pink. And we're just like, yeah.
That immediate vibe change. Yeah, man. It's sound
Like rock,
because
yeah.
in the beginning was the word, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was
Yes,
always the
man.
sound first, which
And
is wild.
if you think about it conceptually too, the cymatics are just showing you how that sound is moving through the water, like the physical medium of the water, and you are mostly water.
Yeah.
So that sound is going to move through you, whether you feel that physically or not. It moves you on a subtle level, which has a cascading effect into your emotional perception.
Right.
So if something resonates with you, it's hitting when you're sad and you hear a sad song, it's way more effective than when you're happy and the sad song comes on, because you're not resonating with it.
Right.
So on a fundamental level, yeah, a sub can hit a bass note and shake you, but the combination of all of those waves can move you on a different level. It moves you on the spiritual level versus just hitting you in the chest with the bass,
Yeah.
The trifecta.
Trifecta.
That's awesome, man. Well, dude, this has been really great. I really appreciate you coming on to talk to us, Tyler. This is really cool stuff, and I really appreciate the work you're doing and presenting to so many people. And it's great to turn so many people onto this stuff, that there's tangibility to this stuff, and it doesn't have to be woo-woo at all. Like almost at all. Like it can just
cool.
The whole perception around it can change,
Yeah.
It's been really cool talking to you, man. And for people who don't know you yet, please tell my audience where they can find you, man.
So on TikTok is the main platform I'm on now. I also have YouTube and Instagram, which are coming up slowly. On all of those is BassForge. That is my company. My DJ stage name is Static in the Attic, and you can find all my music on SoundCloud or Spotify. And personally, my name's Tyler. I'd like to know everybody. I can never have too many friends, man.
Hell yeah, man. Shane,
check
you got
them out.
anything before we go, man?
Yeah, no. I said
We don't
God
have to
told him
go
to go
yet.
check you out.
Yeah.
I knew some what I didn't know it all podcast. For my listeners, go check out the Deep Share.
Of course.
If you already haven't, I don't know how you haven't if you listen to my show.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're back. We're back in action, back from the flood. This is no longer antediluvian times. So
we're out of the deep end.
But yeah.
Era.
Yeah, exactly, man. Again, Tyler, thank you so much for coming on, and hope to maybe talk to you again sometime. This was really cool.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.
All right.
Great.
All right,
meeting, man.
Shane, it's been real, brother. Everybody out there, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Check you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Deep Share Podcast. If you want to hear more, then hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all the social places. And remember, think for yourself, but don't always believe what you think. Till next time.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature. And you will atone.
What do we know? What do we know? If I know what we know, then I can tell you what we know, and if someone else knows, okay? I mean...